Hey guys, welcome back. In the past couple of videos, we've been talking about making complex shapes. First video, we talked about how to draw, more complex shapes using, our line tools and how to sort of warp those objects and stuff like that using our edit nodes or edit paths or point tools and our sculpting warping tools. And in the last video, we talked about how we can use our path tools, these union, difference, intersection, and exclusion tools, to actually make new objects out of combinations of other objects. Um, in this video, we will be talking about something very similar, except that I'll show you a way how to do this. This is probably very, very, very important to people doing fab. Um, Another way of basically creating new geometries without actually merging shapes together. So this is called grouping, and we'll be grouping and we'll be using color to actually do this grouping. So let's get right to it. Let's say we're going to sort of make the same house that we made um, in the last video. So let's say we're going to have I'm going to turn this black. Well, let's say, it doesn't really matter, it can be blue. Let's say we have this guy. Let's put our snapping back on. I'd like to put just a bunch of snapping tools on. Let's go ahead and let's make this tabletop. Oh, this tabletop. Let's make this house top, the roof, and let's color that black. And let's take away its line color. And let's go ahead. Let's make our chimney like we had in the last video. Let's make our door and our windows. So let's go ahead and make another rectangle. And let's make our windows. And let's go ahead. Let's make our bars for our windows. Let's not even make a bar. Let's just make a just one of these guys. Let me see. Yeah, let's say it like that. Let's trim this other color. I'm going to turn my snapping off because it's getting annoying now. Let's take this like this. Let's take these two guys. Let's press Control D. And you might wonder why it looks like this. I'll show you in a minute what we're going to do. We're still just making a picture of a house. We're not really, trying to design a 3D house right now. So now that we have all of our shapes, this is really all the shapes we need for our little geometry of this house. And you might be wondering now, how is this how is this one object? This doesn't look like one object. They're all different colors, and how am I going to do it so that when I move this guy, everything moves and nothing gets left behind? Well, we're going to use grouping. So Control plus G on your keyboard will group objects. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click these two objects. In fact, I can group everything. Let's go and let's group everything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically select everything, all of this house. Press Control G. Now guess what happens? Hey, it moves around like a regular object. If we double click or click a couple of times, it'll actually divide into different objects, into sub objects. And this is actually pretty important. But let's go ahead. Let's click out. Let's get something else. Click this again. And so now what we have to do, we have to actually make this into one object. Well, to actually appear to be one object at least. So to do this, what we're going to do is we're going to use our color. So we're going to turn everything that we want to be quote unquote subtracted, we're going to turn it white. And everything that we want to actually be there, we want black. And this is very simple, and it's very fundamental to what we do. So how do I, if this is all grouped, how do I click the different things without without having to ungroup this? So what you can do, if you hold Control down, it lets you click and select different objects within your grouped object section. And you can move them, do whatever you want. If you click out and click it again, it's grouped again. So it doesn't actually take away the grouping, but it just sort of, takes it away for just a brief moment, so that you can edit that object. So and if you hold shift down, of course, you can select more than one object. So if you hold control and shift down, you can select multiple objects within your group. So I hold control plus shift. Let's click this object. Let's click this object. These are already black. Let's click this object right here. And the door is already black, but I don't want it black. But now we're going to take these guys. Let's turn them black. Yay, now they're black. Now, remember the things that we want to be subtracted, or quote unquote subtracted. We're going to turn them white. So hold Control plus Shift, click my window back here, click my window back there, click my window, click my door, and turn them white. And to be honest with you, it's as simple as that. This is pretty darn simple. And it's actually kind of, there's a reason why I use this versus as opposed to using the merge tool for most of the stuff I do, is because as it's still an object and you can send this to a CNC machine just as you would send any other merged object to the machine. If something goes wrong, if the things are merged together, it's really hard to fix it. Let's say if the size was just a tiny bit off, it's going to be sort of hard to fix it. But this is really easy because I can just hold Control down, click my object, edit the size of it, edit where it is in relation to everything else, and then let it go, and guess what? It's grouped again. So this is pretty simple, and you can also edit. You can also add, lines, line thicknesses to different objects, and all kinds of stuff like that, without having to worry that it's finalized and that they're all one actual object, and you can't. They're indivisible. So this grouping and using the colors extremely important. The black and white is really important when we're making these 2D vectors. And as I said, basically everything I would really advise, unless you're just trying to make a really ornate kind of shape, which merging and subtracting would be pretty good for. Actually, probably better than the grouping. But for any other thing that you're making, let's say if you're making tabs or stuff like that, try to steer away, and we'll talk about this in later videos, but try to steer away from using the merge and subtract and difference and intersection tools. Really try to more to work with these grouping tools, because it allows you to edit the shapes, the actual individual shapes, after you've actually given them this sort of relationship to each other, this group relationship. If you ever get tired of these objects being grouped, all you have to do is press Control Shift G. They're all grouped. I can do whatever I want with them. So this is another reason why it's useful. Let's say if I really wanted this triangle for another object, I can just ungroup them and duplicate this triangle and move it out and do whatever I want with them, and then group all this right here back. All these things that I've just told you, they are also located in where is this? In my object tool, my object little set right here. So you can see it's right there. It's the third and fourth things from the top is group and ungroup. So these are also there manually if you want to do that. But I like to use my keyboard shortcuts a lot. So Control plus G groups things. Control plus Shift plus G ungroups things. So I hope this video was pretty useful. We're just really trying to show more things that you can do, more ways that you can create new geometries without actually having to sacrifice and and running the risk of making mistakes that you can't actually fix later on, like you would if you were using, or that are harder to fix, I should say, if like if you were using your merge tool or stuff like that. But don't get me wrong, there are some advantages to using a merge tool, because let's say if I wanted to edit my points on the stand, I can't really edit the points. I have to edit the points of this shape right here. However, if I if this were actually merged, I'll show you in a minute. Let's say if this, Control Shift G, ungroup this guy. Let's merge these guys together. However, if this thing were actually merged, I can actually, edit it like this, which I can't do if they're grouped, because now this is actually one object. So of course, this is for if you're actually making, shapes, actually making physical objects that if you really want a certain geometry, you can go ahead and use your merge tool. But if you are actually just making standard sort of shapes, try not to use the merge tool. Alright, I hope this video was helpful. We're just talking about more ways to create relationships between objects and more ways to group objects together and more ways to combine them to actually make new objects. I guess I will see you guys in the next video.